This weekend, their homecoming game will probably be one of the biggest recruiting weekends for Alabama State in their school history. And it'll also be a big recruiting weekend for Jackson State at Alabama State's homecoming. And just some of who all will be in attendance at this game. There's some elite level talent that is going to be in Montgomery this weekend. Let's talk about it after the bumper. What is up, everybody? What is up, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr here with the Black Boss channel and Victory Formation. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, notification bell because we upload every single day. Now, this weekend will be one of the biggest recruiting weekends. Let's just call it one of the biggest recruiting weekends in the history of HBCU football. And the reason why, in the modern day history, let me put it like that. Let me phrase it for all the folks that want to get on me. Because of who will be in attendance at Alabama State's homecoming game against Coach Prime and the Jackson State Tigers. This weekend, we know of the 5 stars that'll be there. Quay Russaw, James Smith out of Montgomery. Let's go ahead and pull up this 247. I mean, this is how big this thing is going to be. Let's pull up the 247 article. There's a whole freaking article about the 5 stars that'll be in Montgomery. They're from Montgomery, so they'll be in Montgomery to watch. It says 5 stars and local touted recruits visiting Alabama State for Jackson State game. It says Alabama State will have a couple of 5 stars and another touted offensive lineman and a couple more of the area's best on campus for Saturday's showdown against Jackson State. Columbus, Alabama, Carver, 247 composite 5 stars, defensive lineman James Smith and Quay Russaw include the Hornets among their finalists, alongside Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Auburn, and Ohio State. Joining Smith and Russaw will be their Carver teammates, 2023 running back Antonio Trone, who also holds an offer from Bama State, in 2024 offensive lineman Kalari Gordon. Now, what's cool about the Quay Russaw and the James Smith, the 2 5-star defensive linemen that are visiting Alabama State, they have a unique relationship with Coach Eddie Robinson Jr. It goes on to talk about it. It says offensive lineman Vyson Lang, who trains with those 4 at Madhouse Training in Montgomery, will also head over. Lang is high on Tennessee and Auburn, among others. Quote, they've been talking about this game since the summer, one of Madhouse founders, Tracy Varner, said. Quote, they've been talking about this Bama State, Jackson State game for months. This summer, since they were training, they wanted to get the game day atmosphere in the HBCU. And of course, you want to do it when Deion Sanders comes to town. That's why they'll be there this weekend. New head coach of Bama State, Eddie Robinson Jr., played 11 years in the NFL, has returned to his alma mater and has fired up the community in the process. They come into the game 3-2, one of those losses being UCLA. Robinson played, this is the unique concept between those 5 stars and those other, talented players, and Eddie Robinson Jr. Robinson played with Varner, remember the co-founder of that gym that they train at, and his partner at Madhouse, Todd Dowell, in high school. So Eddie Robinson played with the owners of this Madhouse gym that houses and trains these high-level athletes in the Montgomery, Alabama area. Robinson played with Varner and his partner at Madhouse, Todd Dowell, in high school. And the linebackers coach Billy Gresham used to be the head coach at Carver. So Billy Gresham, who was the linebackers coach at Bama State, used to be the head coach at the high school that a lot of these talented kids, that these 2 5-stars go to. And so there's deeply rooted connections there for Coach Eddie Robinson. Will he be able to get those young men to pull the trigger and choose Bama State is the ultimate question. It says Varner said Russaw and Smith are going to give Alabama State a legit look. Quote, these 2 kids are totally different. See, that's the thing we always heard about Travis. He's totally different. Coach Prime has told us when Travis chose to go to Jackson State, why? Because he's totally different. He's different than these 5 stars. These other 5 stars that had come out in his class and previous classes. That's what the trainer, Mr. Varner, is saying about his 2 5-stars, Russaw and Smith. He says these kids are totally different. Varner continued, if they put you on their list, they're going to give you an honest look. They've done it with every school they've had on their list. So that is big for Alabama State. And honestly, I would love if those two young men and all of those kids that are going to this game chose to go to Alabama State. Because one thing that works in Alabama State's favor, they're in the state of Alabama with tons of talent. Tons of talent coming out of the state of Alabama. Two, Alabama State has really, really nice facilities. From what I've been told, I haven't been there, but from what I've been told, they have some of the nicest facilities in all of the SWAC. And three, all the kids don't need to go to Jackson State. And what I will say is Coach Eddie Robinson, like Coach Prime, now granted he don't have a gold jacket, but he played 11 years in the NFL. He's got people on his staff that know how to recruit, that are very, very familiar with the area, including himself. He comes from that area. And three, he's someone that's been able to show that he can get out here and recruit. Like he had somewhat, he didn't have a complete full offseason when he got the job, and he still was able to go out and get players like D. Davis and others to come in and join his team this year. They've made some impressive wins so far this year, and I think they'll continue to build off that momentum. Now, it's not just those young men that are going to the Alabama State game. Now, shout out to Jonathan over at Light On Sports, College Sports. Shout out to Jonathan, Light On College Sports. Jonathan Dobbins, he's a beast, man. Hey, and by the time you see this, but this is what Jonathan has put out as some of the kids that will be in attendance for that game outside of those 5 stars we just talked about. This is what Jonathan is reporting. So you got a 3-star defensive lineman, Connor Knight, a USF commit, will also be at the game. Let's see, Jonathan also, those are the 5-star kids, the ones from that article. Jonathan also says a 4-star Georgia commit, Bo Hughley, will be at the game, offensive lineman. That's huge. Once again, and Jonathan also tells us another 4-star. Well, this is another 4-star offensive lineman who's uncommitted by the name of Micah DeBose will be at the game, the homecoming game. And also another offensive line, Brandon Joyner, who is an Auburn commit, and Joshua Daniels, who was an Arkansas State commit, a 3 and a 4-star, will also be at this game. And this is how good some of those players. Now, we know how good the 5 stars are, but just taking a look at recruiting rankings, rankings don't mean everything. They mean something. That Micah DuBois young man that's going to Auburn, he's committed to Auburn, but he's a composite 4-star by 24/7. He is someone who is really, really good at offers from Auburn, Arizona, or Arizona State, Arkansas. Would be big for either program, whether it's Jackson State, Alabama State, or whoever, if he makes a flip from Auburn to one of the HBCUs. Also, Mr. Bo Hughley, the Georgia commit, consensus top 100 recruit, consensus 4-star from the composite out of Georgia, 6'7", 290 pounds, 6'7", 290 pounds, has big time offers from Auburn, Nebraska, Arizona State, and Arkansas. Would be huge if he flipped from Georgia to one of these other HBCU programs. And there's a couple of reasons why I think these young men are coming to this game. Besides the fact that it's Jackson State is in town, and although the Madhouse trainer, Mr. Varner, said that his kids at his training facility been talking about this game for months, ever since it was announced. They knew that they wanted to go see Bama State when they played Jackson State. But I think there's a couple of reasons. One, it continues the exposure, right? Like the coverage that is being in the attention that is being paid attention to Alabama State, to Jackson State, to HBCU football. Two, Coach Prime told us. They said, hey, Coach, how in the hell did you land Travis? Right? Travis is the #1 player in the country. How did you get Travis to choose Jackson State over Florida State, to choose Jackson State over Alabama, to choose Jackson State over Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, USC, whoever, right? Like, how did you do that, Coach? He said Travis came to a homecoming game. And he said the worst mistake any Power 5 school can do is allow one of these high-level recruits to come to a homecoming game. Well, it just so turns out that Alabama State's game this weekend against Jackson State is none other than homecoming. None other than homecoming. So the elite recruits are going to get a chance to experience an atmosphere in Montgomery that they probably never experienced before in their lives. Now, granted, the stadium in Montgomery, it doesn't seat 100,000 like they do in Knoxville, Tennessee, or 80 or so thousand like they do in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, or 100,000 like they do at the Big House in Michigan. But they seat a nice amount, and the pageantry, the fanfare, the love that you're going to get from those 20 or so thousand, or however many they seat in 18,000, or however many they seat in Montgomery, is going to be way better than that 100,000 that you would get in the SEC. And they've heard that. Travis may have heard that. Then he went and experienced it. And it changed his mind. The experience was way better than what he just heard. Because he went to all the other games. He went to all the homecoming games at Alabama and the big-time SEC matchups or ACC matchups or whatever. And I'm sure these young men have too, if they're committed to Auburn and Georgia and all these other places. But this is a little different. This is a lot different. And you add the fact that, you were considering Alabama State, but you could possibly be considering Jackson State by the end of the game. And that just continues to shine a light on all these programs, a light that hasn't been shown and shined in a very, very long time. I love everything about it. Elite level recruits. Elite level. We're watching. I'm not going to say we're watching a changing of the guard, but the simple fact, because all these kids aren't going to go to Alabama State. All these kids aren't going to go to Jackson State. All these kids aren't going to go to HBCUs or whatever. But the simple fact that they want to take the time this weekend and travel from wherever they're traveling from. Now, a lot of those big time ones are in the state of Alabama. They're in the city of Montgomery. But these kids are traveling from wherever they're traveling from and decide to make the arrangements to be at Alabama State for this game, for homecoming. It's going to pay dividends in the long run. And if this many kids, this many high-level prospects are coming to see Alabama State versus Jackson State in a homecoming game at Alabama State, it makes me wonder how many kids are going to be at the Jackson State homecoming. Not just for Jackson State either. Campbell is a really, really good team. And Campbell is recruiting a lot of high-level prospects. And Campbell is beating the hell out of a lot of teams. So I'm just, shout out to, once again, Jonathan Dobbins, Light on College Sports, because he's good at getting out who's on visits and whatnot. And I'm excited about this weekend, about all the visits. I'm excited about the residual effects that'll take place from these young men being on these visits this weekend, and also who could potentially be on other visits for other homecoming games moving forward. It's beautiful to see. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Once again, my name is Jeff LightsyJr with the Black Boss channel and Victor Formation. Hit that thumbs up button. Like, share, subscribe. I think I'm getting some issues with YouTube, but, it is what it is. But hit that thumbs up button. Like, share, and subscribe. Also, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. That is on Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Peace.